It's very interesting about vitamin A because vitamin A is, to me, it's the foundational vitamin. Nothing else can happen in your body without vitamin A. The regulator of stem cells, it's a regulator of hormone production, it regulates fetal development in babies. You need it for growth, for healthy eyes, healthy bones. I mean, it's just a fundamental vitamin. And for this reason, there has been a kind of campaign against vitamin A. And indeed, studies have shown that if you're getting...
Welcome to the Deconstructing Conventional podcast. This interview is brought to you by Healing United, a private membership association committed to helping you reclaim sovereignty over your health, life, and future. You could say our tagline is question everything and rebuild intentionally. In the audio format of the show, there's additional commentary before each episode, and there are also over a dozen audio-only episodes. You can find the show anywhere you listen to podcasts, including the Healing United PMA app. Look for it in the App Store. And if you want to learn more about the work we do, and especially how we help people heal when the doctors have no answers, visit us online at healingunited.today. Now, on with the show. All right, welcome everyone to today's show. It is my deep honor to welcome Sally Fallon Morrell. For those of you who don't know, Sally is the founding president of the Weston A Foundation and the editor of the foundation's quarterly magazine. To give some context for how significant the foundation is, it has over 15,000 members and over 400 chapters worldwide. So Sally is also a prolific author, but probably most known for her best-selling cookbook, Nourishing Traditions, with the cheeky subtitle, The Cookbook That Challenges Politically Correct Nutrition and the Diet Dictocrats. And personal note, I can say my wife and I have been using that cookbook for a long time. It's a tattered tome in our family. It has
I love to see the tattered pages.
Yeah, it's got food stains on it. It's the back cover's missing. If it were a Velveteen Rabbit, it would probably be alive by now. It's really just a treasure in our family and largely responsible for the kind of the abundant health that my family enjoys to this day. So you really freed us from the clutches of the food guide pyramid and helped us find bedrock in a very confusing world of nutrition. So thank you for that. So few other things I'll mention about Sally. Some of the culinary ideas that she introduced in Nourishing Traditions have stimulated the growth of a variety of small businesses. And so some of the foods you may be familiar with, like the nourishing foods such as lacto-fermented condiments and soft drinks, including kombucha. She also popularized bone broth, animal fats, organ meats, genuine sourdough bread, and real milk, which in other words is called raw milk. Just to give you one example of how impactful Sally's work has been, she founded the Campaign for Real Milk in 1998, which you can find at realmilk.com. And the website listed only 28 sources of raw milk in the United States back in 98. Today, there are over 2,000, as far as I understand. There's now 3,000 different, and hundreds more probably that are not listed. So 3,000 places you can get raw milk now. And despite the challenges in the dairy industry, raw milk is the fastest growing agricultural product in the US. Sally has also been instrumental in establishing the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund, which is a big reason why there's a flourishing network of direct farm to consumer buying arrangements, which we have participated in for years and are so grateful for. In 2009, Sally and her husband, Jeffrey, started their own regenerative farm. And just to make her more amazing, she speaks English, French, and Spanish. Of course she does. And she's a mother of four, has 4 beautiful grandkids. And Sally, I need to catch my breath after reading all of that, because I guess I want to say from the heart, thank you so much for what you've done for the real food movement. And from everyone who doesn't have the chance to say thank you in person, I just want to say thank you on behalf of us. And if I had a lifetime achievement award to give out, I'd give it to you. I wouldn't hesitate. You have done so much for me and my family. So it's an honor to have you. Thanks for coming on the show.
You know, there's a lot that's wrong, a lot that still needs fixing, but even at our local grocery store now, we can get pastured eggs, pastured butter, and pastured meat.
Yeah.
And this is a rural grocery store. It's nothing special, but it's there. And you know, people are waking up slowly, but people are waking up.
Yeah. Well, and you've been a tireless warrior for decades on it, which we'll kind of get into as we go. And I probably need 10 hours to scratch the surface of every topic I like to cover with you. But we'll get to, because your insights on nutrition are so profound. But before we get there, I just want to back up. And for those people who don't know you or don't know your story, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your family. When did you start coming across the work of Dr. Price, and what got you interested in this world to begin with?
Well, I think I was very lucky to be born into a family. I would say my parents were the original foodies. They were really interested in food. They traveled a lot, and my mother was a wonderful cook. And when they came home from a trip, she would make the foods that they'd eaten, like we ate cassoulet and we ate prosciutto, and she always used butter. And so we ate real food. We grew up eating real food. Now, there were some things that were missing. We were not drinking raw milk. We were not getting cod liver oil, or not really getting organ meats, but or fermented foods. Nevertheless, it was a good, solid, healthy diet of real food. And I like to cook, I like, my parents cooked, I like to cook. And I cooked French food with lots of butter and cream, and I loved rich food. And in 1974, I read Dr. Price's book and realized that the way I was cooking was basically how these healthy people ate. And so I didn't flinch in the teeth of all this propaganda about low-fat diets. And actually, I was really concerned about the push to put children on low-fat diets. I just knew this wouldn't work for children. The children need a rich, satisfying food. So then I got this crazy idea to write a cookbook that put these traditional foods into practical form for Americans. And I'd never written a book before. I didn't know what I was doing. My kids made fun of me. I mean, it wasn't
wow.
They teased me. They teased me. Mom's writing a book, And but the book took off, much to everybody's surprise, especially my children's surprise. And then Mary Ennig and I decided that we needed an organization to keep up with the science, to continue to educate people in as many ways as possible. So we founded the Weston A. Price Foundation, and the rest is history. It's just, people have often said to me, you've created a monster, and it's a nice monster, but there's no way to get out now, my calling.
Yeah, well, and it's certainly, you've not shirked it. You've leaned into it. So when you set it up, did you have any idea it would go?
I love the work I'm doing, and I have lots of wonderful, talented, smart help that I couldn't do anything without all these wonderful people who support me and work for the foundation. Our chapter leaders, 400 chapter leaders. I mean, these are the greatest people. So it's been a lot of fun. I couldn't do it if it weren't fun. And, challenging stodgy old academics and challenging the status quo. This is fun.
Yes, that's
what I highly recommend it as a daily activity.
Right. Well, that's what this podcast is about. That's what I'm about as a person. So we are peas in the same pod here. So, okay. Well, one of the things I love about the Weston A. Price Foundation is just how much breadth and depth you guys have. So your topics you guys cover are food, farming, and the healing arts. Yeah. And then you have a 3-part mission of research, education, and activism, which just gives you such a broad purview. And to your point, you have to have a team to pull it off. But tell us a little bit about how the foundation came to that mission and how it plays out in the day-to-day operation.
Well, we just worked on our mission statement. I don't really know where that phrase "food, farming, and the healing arts" came about, but it perfectly describes what we do. We're number one about food, and of course, good food has to come from the right kind of farming. And why are people searching for the right foods? Because they're having health challenges, and so that's where the healing arts come in.
Okay. Well,
and then it's education, research, and activism. And education is number one, but we do some research over the years. We've done some very interesting projects, and then the activism mostly has been focused on the raw milk issues, because this is a state-by-state project. It's not a federal government project. So when we get a chance to lobby for, and I won't say lobby, we're not supposed to lobby, but educate about the benefits of raw milk in a legislature, we always have people to do that.
Well, and I noticed your newsletters have local to the the subscriber where there are relative or the relevant data as far as like the Prime Act or different legislation that's attempting to be passed or not passed to protect local farms or put them in handcuffs.
We do look at federal issues. And one of the big problems today with expanding the grass-fed farming movement, for which there's a tremendous demand,
Yep.
is that the lack of abattoirs, the lack of butchers where you can get your meat, your pigs and your cows butchered and cut up, and so you can sell it. And the USDA has been closing or making it very difficult for small local abattoirs to continue. And like down here in Southern Maryland, we have to drive 3 hours to have our pigs butchered, and we have no place to get beef butchered. We'd
Wow.
like to do beef, but we can't. So this has really got to be addressed. That's kind of the next big challenge, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I'm confident the foundation has the people and the organizing capabilities to work on that. So,
Oh,
right.
yes, we are. We've been working with Thomas Massey,
Mhm.
who will be the keynote speaker at our conference. And he's a wonderful congressman who's worked on this his whole time.
Yeah. No,
And
he's a great pillar of needed advocacy for so many good things. So,
yes, yes.
right on. Okay. Well, let's start with just I'll go research, education, and activism. We'll kind of go in that order. I want to pick your brain about a few topics related to each of those. So,
Okay.
obviously, there's so many in the research lane, but we'll hit a couple high points on fat and protein because you may know, in my opinion, more about that than anyone alive. So, one of the things you mentioned when we were dialoguing before this interview was there's currently a big brouhaha going on related to vitamin A. So, a couple of things. Give us your thoughts on the vitamin A, but if you would kind of zoom out one frame and just put vitamin A in the context of the four fat-soluble vitamins and where they're found, why they're important, and we'll address vitamin A
Right,
specifically.
right. So the number one discovery of Dr. Price was that the diets of healthy traditional people were very high in the vitamins that you find exclusively in animal fats and organ meats, and shellfish is another place you get them. So these are vitamins A, D, and K. The fourth one is vitamin E, which is in plant foods also. So we don't spend a lot of time on that. But the first three, A, D, and K, they are in the very foods that we're being told not to eat. So this is real fun to challenge these people.
Right.
And they're going to be higher if the animals are pasture fed out in the sunlight. So this is why we advocate pasture-based farming. And the real challenge is to get enough of these vitamins in the diet, in the modern diet.
Mm-hmm.
Not easy. You really have to make a conscious effort to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it. So it's very interesting about vitamin A because vitamin A is, to me, it's the foundational vitamin. Nothing else can happen in your body without vitamin A. It's the regulator of stem cells. It's the regulator of hormone production. It regulates fetal development in babies. You need it for growth, for healthy eyes, healthy bones. I mean, it's just a fundamental vitamin. And for this reason, there has been a kind of campaign against vitamin A.
Mm.
And indeed, studies have shown that if you're getting a lot of vitamin A from processed food, so this would be synthetic vitamin A, that is associated with osteoporosis because it competes with vitamin D. If you're getting too much vitamin A, it depletes vitamin D. And that's fine, but we don't advocate processed food. We advocate real vitamin A from things like liver, and no study has shown that vitamin A from liver is harmful. So we have been at the forefront of promoting the use of high vitamin A foods and getting them back in the diet. Cod liver oil is one. We're big cod liver oil fans. But I stumbled across a discussion the other day, and I had no idea this was going on. There is an author and a website who is saying that vitamin A is poisonous. It's not even a vitamin, it's a toxin. And he recommends a diet without any vitamin A or any carotenes.
Oh, man.
It's going to be
Wow.
really hard. So I just was very surprised to find this because we have been working so hard to vindicate vitamin A. And I don't care what he says, you do need vitamin A. It is a vitamin, and you need it from the animal foods, not from the carotenes.
Right on. Okay. Well, you mentioned cod liver oil specifically, and I know vitamin A and even D are something you can get from. So tell people why you're such a big fan of it. I know there's been some controversy around cod liver oil, and
Oh, there has been.
so tell us a
Well,
little bit about that.
Nothing is simple in the field of
Right.
nutrition. Yeah. So Dr. Price used cod liver oil in treating patients, treating tooth decay. He had a experiment where he brought a nourishing lunch to school children who had a lot of tooth decay and a lot of health problems. And part of that lunch was cod liver oil. And they did very well. They got better grades, their tooth decay subsided, and so forth. So cod liver oil was a recommended supplement by the medical profession up to the Second World War. And pretty much every American born before the Second World War got cod liver oil. You got it in school, your parents gave it to you, you got it in Sunday school, because for one thing, that's what they had to protect children against things like measles, but they also recognized that cod liver oil was very important for growth and development. And that all stopped after the Second World War. Antibiotics took the place of cod liver oil. So we've kind of brought cod liver oil back. But there's a couple of caveats, though. Today, most cod liver oil is manufactured by molecular distillation. This is a very harsh temperature intensive process. It's heated several times, and that kills the natural vitamins, and they have to put synthetic back in. Yeah. So there's only 4 brands that we know of that are not heated, that are extracted in other ways. And these are the ones we recommend, and we list them on our website. Right. The other caveat about cod liver oil was Dr. Price always gave cod liver oil, which is a source of A and D, with what he called high vitamin butter oil, which is a source of vitamin K2. And you need all 3 of these together. So this is why we really warn against taking supplements. You know, we have people out there taking 10,000 units of vitamin D a day. This will deplete you of A and K2 very rapidly because you need all 3 together. Yep. And now they give you vitamin D and vitamin K together, and that's going to deplete you of vitamin A real fast.
Yeah. Well, I've made
get these vitamins from food.
Yeah. And I've made that point. And you are one of the few people I know who actually kind of talks about the idea that nutrients need each other in order to work. And we have this reductionist look at vitamins like, yeah, stand back, everyone, vitamin D is here, and everything will be fine. And there's no maverick nutrient that is by itself. Yeah, so they're
dangerous by themselves. A perfect example is iron. And we're putting iron in everything, and we're giving iron supplements to pregnant women. And this iron is very toxic, and that will deplete you of copper and vitamin A and so forth. Now, you need vitamin A to absorb iron. You don't need much iron in your diet if you've got plenty of vitamin A. So it's just a mess,
Right. Well, take a minute or two and kind of, for people who are waking up to the idea that fat, and especially animal fat, might be good, kind of break the spell that fat is what makes you fat, or fat's going to clog your arteries, or that sort of nonsense.
Well, yes, this idea that saturated fat clogs your arteries, this was dispelled years ago. The fat that they find in the artery clogs is mostly unsaturated fat, the kind that's in vegetable oils. It's very little saturated fat. In traditional cultures, what they prized most was the fat of the animals. And for example, they would only hunt animals at certain seasons of the year when they were fattest. And if they killed an animal that didn't have enough fat, it was called rubbish, and it was thrown away. The lean meat let's just say in a buffalo, was cut into strips, dried, salted or dried or smoked, and all the fat was rendered, and that was spread on the lean meat. They never ate lean meat. They never ate skinless chicken breasts, okay? The fruit was left on the trees for the birds to get fat. And by the way, we now know that the best source of vitamin K2 is bird fat and bird liver. So if you're eating skinless chicken breasts, you're losing the plot there. It's, right, of course, what the dietitians recommend, but duck fat, goose fat, these are very, very healthy fats for us.
Right on. Well, I think I heard you on a different interview mention something like you had your diet analyzed at one point just to find out your ratios. Your diet was like something like 70% fat.
70% of calories is fat. That's the diet that works for me.
Hmm.
My health challenge is hypoglycemia, and if I don't eat enough fat, I just can't function. And we know that the vegetable oils are not good for you. So what I eat is butter, and I cook in lard and drink whole milk, um, and that keeps me going, keeps my blood sugar from dropping. That's known science. Okay.
Right. Well, and there was, I think, a different interview you had mentioned there was somebody that had written in, and he loved fried foods, and all he did was switch out his vegetable oils for lard, and that was the only dietary change he made, and he lost a lot of weight just with that one switch.
I well believe it. In fact, I wrote an article recently. I found this study where the researchers had gotten the rats addicted to sugar. They had the sugar water for the rats. And then they gave them a diet that was 40% lard. And you know what? The rats didn't want the sugar anymore. And the researchers weren't happy about this. They said these rats on the chronic high fat diet, is what they called it, chronic high fat diet, no longer wanted their sweet, palatable foods.
Oh,
And so, what's the reason for this? Well, sugar raises dopamine, makes us feel better temporarily. But guess what? Fat does too. Animal fats raise dopamine. So, why not raise your dopamine with something that's good for you instead of something that just that's empty calories and depletes you of nutrients?
wow. This is so funny. They're
We've had
baffling.
a lot of people tell us, so many people are addicted to sugar.
Hmm.
And it's very hard to get off this addiction. We've had a lot of people tell us when they get on our diet, it doesn't happen immediately, but over weeks and months, eating the high fat diet, real food, suddenly their desire for sugar goes away. And they don't need willpower to stop eating sugar. They just don't want it.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good news for all of us.
Right. And don't be afraid of fat is kind of the takeaway. Like lean into
Don't
it.
be afraid of fat, and it will be good for you and will
Yeah.
help you.
Yeah. Okay.
And as for gaining weight, as you said, this guy actually lost weight switching to lard.
Yeah.
A lot of things in processed food make us gain weight, such as MSG.
Yeah.
That's known in the science. But I'm also concerned about, and especially women, holding them to very strict standards,
Hmm.
especially later in life when you go through menopause. In traditional cultures, every woman gained weight.
Hmm.
They got sturdier and stronger because they had a different role. And some of the women became hunters for their families and fisher women. They needed to be sturdy and strong. And I think I always say, if you can wear your prom dress when you're 50, you're too thin. Because women who don't gain weight at menopause become frail and wrinkled, and that's not good.
No, nobody likes saggy. So,
Yeah, yeah.
right. Well, that's several good nuggets in there. So,
There you go. Yes, yes.
yeah, let
And
me.
that's good news for women. The average size in America is size 14. You know, you don't want to be a size 18. I understand that. But you don't need to be a size 10 anymore. And one survey found that the women who were happiest were the women who were size 14,
Yeah,
because
well,
that's what you're supposed to be. Yeah.
there's something about a particular body image, and it's like, so I find it with clients often there's a tug between I want to be this size, but I like how I feel better at a different size,
Yes,
and that's
exactly.
precisely what you're talking about. Like what,
Exactly. And I really fault the medical profession for, the standard that you're supposed to weigh now is not the healthy weight at all. The insurance companies put your weight much higher for optimal health.
and isn't there an uptick in cholesterol sometimes related to that they is used to scare them back into submission with particular.
Possibly. Cholesterol should go up as you age because cholesterol protects you against cancer. So you need more protection as you age. And yeah,
Yeah. Right.
this whole cholesterol thing is a totally false path. It's the last thing we need to worry about. Even if your cholesterol is very high, you just don't need to worry about it. Now, if your cholesterol is very low, yes, that's a worry because low cholesterol is associated with cancer.
And there you have it, people. Okay. Well, Sally, one of the concepts that I think you were the first one to articulate is the difference between a processed food and a denatured food. So I want to use that to frame protein a little bit, but tell us what the difference is, and then we'll zoom in on protein and maybe even milk specifically.
Yeah, well, we've always processed our food. We make bread, we make pickles, we cooking is processing.
Hmm.
So it's not that, and that kind of processing often makes the food more digestible. It releases nutrients, it increases nutrients. When you make sauerkraut, you increase the amount of vitamin C in cabbage tenfold. So you only need a little spoonful of sauerkraut to get the vitamin C you need for the day. So that's a good kind of processing. We call that traditional processing. But
Hmm.
modern processing denatures the food, adds toxins, reduces the availability of nutrients, and so this is I would call it industrial processing. Is That's not what we want.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it specifically came in a lot in the because one thing as a health coach and people in the exercise world and the convenience foods comes in the form of protein powders. And
Yeah,
so, talk a little bit about that process and what it's doing to the food or the protein specifically, and what your
yeah.
thoughts are on it.
So we have, of course, anything you think is true, we're against.
Go ahead.
This whole emphasis on protein. Now, we do need protein. We need animal protein, and we need 10 to 20% of our calories as protein. You need the higher amount if you're an athlete, if you're growing, working out a lot. Yes, you need about 20% of your calories as protein. Um, your kidneys are not designed to deal with much more protein, and especially the concentrated protein in protein powders. And the other thing that protein does, it depletes you of vitamin A. You need vitamin A to use protein, and the more vitamin A replete you are, if you're taking your cod liver oil, and you actually can get by with very little protein because you're using it efficiently and appropriately. Then there are some proteins that are really denatured by processing, and we'll start with milk proteins. These are extremely fragile. And when you make protein, milk protein powders, whey powders, they become twisted and warped, and your body says, I don't recognize this protein. This must be a foreign protein, and has to mount an immune response, or the kidneys have to work overtime. And you can see where this will take you. So we do need animal food. We do need protein, but not too much. And we do what we really need more of in the modern diet is the fats, which we're
Yeah.
not getting enough of.
Well, it's more representative of the idea that we can just take one nutrient, remove it from its context, and eat it, and then somehow we're getting the benefit that we
In
otherwise would.
fact, yeah, Dr. Price found in Africa, he was able to compare different diets. One of people who was mostly animal foods, one of people who had mostly plant foods, and one of the people who had mixed diet. And the mixed diet people were healthier. They were not quite as tall as the animal food diet, but they were really well proportioned and very strong. And this is wonderful news. You don't have to eat an extreme diet to be healthy. The
Mhm.
whole old-fashioned plate of meat, veg, and carb, that's fine.
Works.
It works. Just put a lot of butter on the vegetables.
Yeah, I've heard
That's
you
what
jokingly.
vegetables are for.
Yeah, vegetables they exist to carry butter into your body.
Vegetables are really fat because you put butter on
Right.
them.
There you go. Well, obviously, so one of the foundation's big, they're a big proponent of animal foods. And since it's such a popular topic these days, I don't want to miss my chance to ask you about it. So there's this trend of, I guess, what you could loosely call the carnivore diet. And there's obviously different versions of that. But what are your thoughts on the movement, and what, if anything, might be some of the limitations of eating that way for a long
Yeah.
runway?
Well, there were some diets like that Dr. Price looked at, especially in the frozen north where they didn't have
That's about all they had.
food, they didn't have plant foods. And they did fine. They had to have lots and lots of fat in that diet. That diet was 80% of calories is fat. And they had special, fertility was a problem in those all animal food diets. And they ate thyroid glands and things like that when it was time to conceive. And that's because the carbohydrates are very important for thyroid function. So it was a diet that required special attention to certain aspects. Let's put it like that. The other thing that happened some of the men would go crazy in the spring, and Chris Master John believes it was because they were low on vitamin D at that time of the year. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But most of the diets were mixed, seafood, land animals, birds, carbohydrate foods, vegetables and fruits, and always with as much fat as they could get and eat.
Okay.
Now, and if you have dairy foods, I mean, dairy gives you such an advantage because butter fat is the healthiest fat in nature. It's the fat for the growth and development of all mammals. There can't be anything wrong with it. It's a fat that's impossible to imitate. You cannot get all the wonderful fatty acids in butter in an imitation food. And it's got the fat-soluble vitamins, especially if it's from pasture-fed animals. It's just the perfect fat. It tastes wonderful. And if you have access to dairy foods, you have access to this fat. The other advantage that people have with dairy foods is that they have calcium. And in cultures that didn't have dairy foods, they had to pay a lot of attention to calcium. They ground up bones of fish and small animals and added that to their food. So, and they tended to be shorter, not as tall as the people who had the dairy in their diets. And, we know that being tall is an advantage in life. People who are tall do better. They're more successful.
Yeah. Okay.
Generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking.
Okay. So what I think I'm hearing is there are some limitations to eating exclusively, animal or exclusively, like some people even go so far as like the only thing you eat is ground beef and salt. And
yeah, I think, and I'm telling you, I'm talking to some mother. You cannot raise a family on ground beef and salt. I'm sorry. They will rebel. They'll go out and get junk food. They'll go from your puritanical diet right to the pornographic food.
Nice.
The number one requirement for a healthy diet is that your children will eat it and they'll be happy with that food and they won't need any other kinds of food.
Yeah. Okay.
And by the way, one reason that people do go to this all meat diet is because they're having digestive problems with the plant foods. And I understand that plant foods are very hard to digest. And most of these special preparation techniques have to do with making plant foods more digestible. Grains are very hard to digest. And all traditional cultures took steps to pre-digest the grains with soaking or souring or sprouting or whatever. Nuts are hard to digest. They need to be soaked also. Most vegetables need to be cooked and eaten with fat. So I can see how they get to this spot and why the all meat diet makes them feel better. But it's just not sustainable. You can't eat this way all the time. It's not no fun. It's no fun. I mean, what's the fun of eating ground beef with salt
all day? Right? Yeah, they're not the life of the party anywhere you go if that's your diet for one. But yeah, I've known a few people who've done it for an extended period of time, and they end up inevitably drifting back to more omnivorous ways of eating.
Yes,
for various reasons.
That's the way we're supposed to eat.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I'll tell you something interesting about the Eskimos. When they came in contact with the Europeans, the one thing, they didn't necessarily abandon their food ways, but they all adopted what they call bannock bread. And this was bread made in a cast iron pan. And now it's considered like an original part of the Eskimo diet. They all eat this bread. And apparently they just felt better if they had this source of carbohydrates.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
All Eskimos eat bread today, even if they're in a traditional lifestyle.
Where they get their grain is maybe the question. But
yeah, I don't know I don't know the details of how they prepare it, but it seemed to be something that improved for them. It's just like in the South Seas, once the pig was introduced, the tradition is they stopped being cannibals because the pig supplied the saturated fat and the nutrients that they were missing in their native diet.
Wow. Okay. Let me close the loop on protein and protein powders in particular. Is there any protein powder that the foundation's found that they can actually get behind or recommend, or is it all just too denatured?
No, it's not. They're not natural foods. I mean,
yeah. Okay.
Now, one thing that traditional people did do, they didn't make protein powders, but they did dry foods. One thing that was pretty widespread was drying shellfish.
Hmm.
They would put the oysters out in the sun, and when they were very dry, they pounded them and made a powder and put the powder in little leather bags. And they traded that, or they just saved it to eat later.
Wow, I did not know that.
So that is a way of preserving. Drying is, a lot of cultures did this. So we do get behind the desiccated liver and the desiccated oysters and these kind of powders.
It's that whole food. It's not a
But they're
particular
for whole
macro or
food.
micronutrient. It's the whole
Right.
thing powdered. And that's
Right.
the difference, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
And all the nutrients are there.
Yeah. No, I've more than once jokingly said in reference to you, you've probably forgotten more about nutrition than I've ever learned. And I think you've just demonstrated that. So thank you for that. Okay. So that's kind of just a quick take on just some of the research and depth that goes on. So I want to switch to education as far as the foundation's mission. So obviously, what we're doing here is educational. You've been on countless shows. I also noticed you've been writing for the Epoch Times. I
Yeah.
love your joke about,
I'm
I
just
don't
taking
know.
a sabbatical from that.
Yeah.
I got so much else to
Right.
do, but I told them I'd come back to them at some
Yeah.
point.
Well,
But they
I
were
noticed
popular, those articles.
they have been, and
Yeah.
for good reason. I noticed in that one you had your joke about how to know when kale is ready to eat. You want to tell the listener about that one?
Well, it's never ready to eat. You don't have to eat kale.
Yeah, you cook
Kale
it.
should be cooked a long time, in the southern greens.
Hmm.
It's one of the greens they used, but you cooked it and cooked it hours.
Yeah,
Chopped it really fine, and then you put turkey tails or back fat, or you always had fat with it.
yeah.
But people are making juice with raw kale. This is not good.
No,
It's not
not
good
at
for
all. No.
you.
Okay. Well, okay. So we've got just obviously the shows you've been doing, that you also have an amazingly rich educational content on your website. If somebody stumps me with a nutrition question, that's the first place I go. I start looking and
Oh,
finding
thank you.
what things you
Yes,
guys have been doing.
everything we've ever published is on the website. All our book reviews, we do 20 book reviews a year. It's all on the website. We also have a very popular podcast. A lot of people would rather listen than read, and we
Mhm.
understand that. We have scientific articles, but we also have kind of soundbite articles. We have our little flyers, which have been very popular, just like butter is better flyer and explaining why, or dangers of, let's see, no, one's called My Friend Cholesterol.
Uh-huh.
So we kind of try to break it down so it's, not too much information at one time. So there's lots of different ways of learning things. We're also working on a course, Wise Traditions course. That's going slowly. It's going slowly, but we're working on it.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, it seems like any way that somebody prefers to consume information or to learn, you're working to meet them where they
That's what
are.
we try to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meet
And
you where you are.
yeah, one thing I love about the foundation is that you are not beholden to any industry or institution, and you're not. I just get to go, oh, they're not promoting or saying this because they've been paid to, or there's a corporate, bent here. It's
Yeah,
just,
even our ads, we don't let people have big ads in our journal. The biggest ad they can have is a half a column, and it's $240 a year, and that's it.
yep.
So we don't get any government money, we don't get any corporate money, and we basically rely on memberships. So I hope that your listeners will become members and receive our quarterly journal and support the work we do.
Yeah.
And people have been very generous with us also. So we're very grateful for that.
Well, and your membership is low cost. It's not unapproachable. Tell people what it costs.
It's $40, and if that is a hardship, you just let us know, and we'll give you a $25 membership.
But it's $40 for how long?
A year,
A
4
year,
issues.
not a month. So you
Yes.
get 4
Yeah.
great journals for that cost. So totally worth it. And I want to back you up on the success of the podcast. Hilda is amazing. I actually had the honor of being on the show, and it is literally my favorite podcast just because of the breadth and depth of what she covers. There's so many good topics and several hundred
She's
episodes.
a good interviewer.
Great.
rolling along,
Yeah. And so many times she goes over the research, education, activism, and food farming and the healing arts. There's just so many different interesting topics. If people want to learn or be educated, it's a great place to go. So, but you also have your annual Wise Traditions Conference. So tell
Yes,
people about
we have
that.
an annual conference. This year it will be in Orlando, Florida, the 25th through 27th of October. We have 30 to 40 speakers every time, 3 to 4 tracks every hour. But what we're most proud of is we really do the food. This is with your registration, you get 5 meals of nourishing traditional foods. And we try to show all the components of a healthy diet. We always have lacto-fermented foods. We serve kombucha. We make sauces with bone broth. We serve pastured butter.
Organ meats.
Or we do organ meats.
Yeah.
We do pate. Yeah, so you will get, if you're new to this, it's a great way to be introduced to the way we eat, to see if you like it.
I've got a funny story. So I took my family to the conference in 2021 in Dallas, and it was beautiful fresh air. Just because you think of 2021, we're finally able to see each other and hug, and there's no masks, and it was just like this room full of people. But we had the meal ticket, and my son thought he was getting himself a big slice of chocolate cake, and he sat down with liver.
Liver pate.
Took a big bite, and he was like, "Whoa, what is this?" So yeah, that was a pattern interrupt for him. He's like, "Okay, I didn't see that coming." But yeah, if you've never been, it is such a great experience. You're with foodies and freedom loving people, and there's just so many cool
you'll
vendors.
meet lots of wonderful people, and the people are very talkative and very friendly. Yes.
Yeah, it really is. It's just like, oh, I can speak freely here. My people, you guys get it. There's something energetic about being in that environment. So if you've never been, definitely go. My wife got to go last year too, and she just loved it. So it is.
And we do have a children's program too,
which
they love. The children really enjoy it.
Tell them what the kids do in the program.
Well, they have little lessons. They do crafts. They go outside. They do lots of things.
They actually, I think, made kombucha in one of the ones.
Is that right?
Good. Yeah, they did some foodie things.
Yeah. I think they made butter in one of them.
Yeah. I think that's one they did as well. Yeah. So there's just it's a family friendly event. It is your people waiting for you. Then you're energized being around that many speakers who are approachable, and it feels not too big and not too small. That's a wonderful
and great exhibitors too. And we handpick exhibitors. They have to all be approved by us.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of some of the education content or a resource that you have just on your website and your other outlets with the conference and such. But the other big piece of the foundation's mission is activism. So to me, this really kind of rounds out the significance of the work you do and why I think you've been so successful. So I guess we can research and educate all day, but if we don't have the ability to advocate against some of the attempts to centralize the food system, this might all be for nothing. So this podcast is called Deconstructing Conventional. And one of the things I love to deconstruct is the history and agenda of the food system so people can see what's going on. And so my listeners,
it's just shameful how the food companies took over the teaching of nutrition and to dietitians, of course, but also to the doctors. Yeah. And the food companies cannot make money if they have to use animal fats. They're too expensive. So the vegetable oils came in. I call them industrial seed oils. These are the most harmful thing in the modern diet. And they basically started using them. And then at the same time with their advertising, demonize the competition. What's the competition? It's butter and lard. And they have created the impression that it's vulgar to use lard. And that we should feel guilty. We should feel like privileged elite and feel guilty if we're eating butter. So that's been the agenda for many years. This is what we're fighting against. But most of our activism has been in the field of raw milk. When, as you say, when we started out, well, there were 27 states that allowed the sale or allowed farmers to provide raw milk in some way. Either it could be retail, it could be on farm, herd shares, or pet milk. Now we're up to 47 states. We have 3 more to go. So,
and Yeah, and that's been a
And so that's been a lot of activism on the state level, in the state legislatures.
yeah. Well, I want to even widen the frame one more. So my listeners are not unaware that food is just another aspects of our lives that are being kind of weaponized as part of more of a globalist agenda. And
Yes.
there's a push to get us to eat mass-produced bugs and lab-grown meats, which are grossly made from bacteria and cancer cells and aborted fetal
Oh, yeah,
cells. And
lab meats. Well, that's not going to fly. People don't like them.
right.
Um, they put all this money into developing these foods and they flop. The only way you can get people to eat them is if they don't have anything else to eat, if they're in institutions.
Yeah.
And even then, it's hard to get people to eat these foods.
Well, and they're even getting sneaky with trying to get mRNA technology in every aspect of the food system.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
even noticed organic Stonyfield Farm now has CRISPR gene edited bacteria in it, and it's showing up in kombucha. And there's even
Oh, really? Oh, dear.
yeah, CHR Hansen. There's a patented bacteria now in some of the kombucha brands. So I've started like we just have to keep paying attention to these things. So I guess they're even trying to put vaccines into lettuce. Like, so give us just, I guess, your perspective, because you've been at this so long, your seasoned perspective on where the real food movement is today and what are the opportunities and challenges and how do we expand
Well,
our protection of
we
real
have
food?
something called the 50% campaign, which
Okay.
is we urge everybody to spend 50% of their food dollar in direct purchases from grass-based farmers. So your eggs, your milk, your meat, your cheese, all these foods, and then your artisan foods, like the person who's making them,
Hmm.
sauerkraut, sourdough bread, at least 50% of your food dollar on these foods. Now, the rest of your food dollar, you can celebrate how small the world has become and enjoy rice and pineapple and all those things. But again, you need to be careful of where you buy from.
Yeah. Well, it's as much putting your dollar behind the food system you'd like to see, and there's an inconvenience and intentionality that goes with that.
Absolutely, you have to, make plans that not quite as convenient.
Hmm.
But this is the future. The future is not processed food. And I think the industry is beginning to realize this. The future is real food that you buy from a real farmer and a real artisan processor. And the reason I say that with absolute surety is because the people who do not switch their eating habits to real food are going to die out. That's nature's way. I call it the natural selection of the wise.
Mm.
They'll die young, or their children will die young, or they won't have children. And that's really what's happening now. The birth rate is going down. So many people can't get pregnant. And we'll see more and more of this because the processed foods do not support life.
Right.
And most people today are just kind of coasting on the good diet of their ancestors. And this can't go on for many
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
generations.
Well, Catherine Austin Fitts recently got the Price Pottinger Foundation to release that video they made about the Pottinger's cats. Have you seen that? Or
Oh, yes, that's
Yeah,
a very good, yeah.
that's a
And the cats, when they were on a diet that was not nourishing for cats, in other words, a cooked food diet, by the fourth generation, there was no more reproduction.
yeah. Yeah. So if you guys have not seen that, you can search for the Pottinger's cats. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. It's
Okay,
such a
okay,
compelling video
yeah.
of what
Oh,
happens
yes,
generationally.
a lot of us have seen that, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a very good video.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to ask you to kind of dream with me for a second. Put your systems level generational thinker hat on, and you've lived this. So talk to us about the ways that regenerative farming maybe has matured in the last few decades, and what it would take for that kind of farming to recapture the word conventional. What are the milestones that we might go through? So those of us like in the fight or with youth on our side, ready to go make change and build the parallel
Well, I
systems.
think it's
What are we looking for?
our 50% campaign is the place to start. Just join
Okay.
up and spending 50% of your food dollar from directly from farmers. And if you don't know where they are, call your local chapter. They keep a list of who the good farmers are in your area, where to get the raw milk, and so forth. So that's one. I had something else in my head and it's gone away.
Well, I think
But
there's,
it's you. The only people who can change this are you, and
yeah,
you won't change it from the inside. They're too entrenched. They're too powerful.
yeah,
But you can change it by just not putting any money into their products.
yeah. Now, I had another guest on a different topic, but he said we have to build a parallel economy. It's not like the
Yes,
system is going to
I
burn
that's
itself down in one day and we're all going to move over. We're slowly going to migrate and build the other. And
yeah.
I guess I'm as interested to hear, like, what have you learned that are kind of if we're looking at in the future, we're looking back and say we did it. Like, what were the success moments? There's obviously just shifting our food dollar. Are there any other budding things in the regenerative farming or the food scene that we could be looking to get behind that you think if we put enough effort behind this is really going to push us over the hump?
Yeah, well, one thing is what I mentioned earlier, the abattoir situation.
Hmm.
So what we really need is wealthy investors to build these abattoirs for us. People who really want to help and have a lot of money. They cost about $2 million to build.
You're talking about the slaughterhouses where we can process our,
Slaughterhouses, small
yeah,
slaughterhouse. There's a lot of people out there that could build abattoirs for the local farmer
yeah,
and feel good about themselves. They've really done something good with their money.
yeah,
So that's another thing. The sea and the milk, you don't need as much of an investment to do raw milk. You're not killing animals, you're just milking. And it's an investment, but it's not like supplying meat.
okay. So if an investor wanted to do the slaughterhouse, we're looking at a couple of million. What's a reasonable cost to set up a raw milk farm?
Oh, if you're just doing milk, you can do it for $10,000 or $20,000 if you have the land.
There you go. So if you're somebody listening who has the means and you see the controlled demolition or the attempt to remove independent income from the food scene, you can be part of the solution in that macro way that would help so many people and
Yes,
really just
really.
make this so-called great reset irrelevant. Like, no, thanks. We have our food. We don't need you.
But
Like,
honestly, it's going to happen
mhm.
one way or another. It is the future of food, and that's good.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yep.
So let's
Okay.
join in and be, some of the
Part of the
initial.
solution. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as we start to wrap up, so I guess the last question I have for you today is just because you're such a remarkable person and your story is just an inspiration and encouragement to so many people, I guess I wanted to ask a couple things. What keeps you going? And essentially, what can we learn from your story that can give us the reserves to take on big dreams and face our own individual challenges and not quit?
Actually, I'm a very methodical person.
Okay.
Um, uh, when I took, in high school, you took that vocational aptitude test.
Hmm.
The thing that they got for me was librarian. So I'm very methodical. I keep good files. I like a really planned out day. I spend most of my time at my desk. And you just have to keep at it.
Hmm.
This is not a flash in the pan thing. You just have to keep at it.
Yeah.
Same with if you have an organization, they require tending. They're like a garden. You have to weed and, put water in and so forth. It's not something that just happens by itself. So, and I think the other thing is, I really do not eat any processed food. Everything I eat is natural, cooked by myself. I don't eat any processed dairy foods, just raw milk or raw cheese. Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, and you've been successful enough and you've done so much. You've written so many amazing books and you have, I imagine, the opportunity to bow out of this fight, but you stay in it. So what keeps you in it? What drives you?
well, I can't leave.
You're,
Yeah, this monster has just got me by the neck.
but hey, well,
But
I'm
I,
glad it
I
does.
enjoy what I do. It's a lot of fun. Just
Yeah.
having a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't ever imagine you retiring. I think
Oh, I
you'll just
know.
endlessly go on. Well, not in a bad sense, just there's always another horizon. There's another milestone and there's people that you can encourage and you've done so much of it.
Well,
So
I'm definitely, I've got some people in mind to take over. So, yeah.
right on. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you again for everything you've
Thank
done.
you so much.
Give the listeners a little window into where to find your work or anything else that we
Okay.
haven't covered.
So a few websites here. Our main website is westonaprice.org. And our conference website is wisetraditions.org. So that's where you can register for the conference. We also have a website where you can find raw milk, realmilk.com. There's an interactive map. You put your state, your zip code in, and you can find the raw milk near you. And finally, my own website is nourishingtraditions.com. I don't write very often for it, but definitely it's a sounding board for new ideas for me.
Yeah, yeah. And you've got so many books you've written too. So can people find those there as well?
Uh, I have New Trends Publishing. You can order them, but they're on that, that place where you can get books online.
Yeah, where
They're all there.
that one place, yes, that not
One
nameless
place.
place that, yeah, we won't
And
mention.
Barnes and Noble has them also.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Okay, great. Well,
all
Sally,
right.
thank you so much for taking the
Thank,
time today. It's been a delight having you on the show, and we really appreciate your work.
thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Deconstructing Conventional. If this conversation sparked new questions or helped you see things in a new light, feel free to share it with a friend who is on a similar journey. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode and a perspective that challenges the norm. Check us out on our website at healingunited.today and find us on social media at Healing United, or you can check out the Healing United PMA app. It's a great way to stay connected. Remember, question everything and rebuild intentionally.